Hello, you guys. This is Dustin, the blind Minnesotan. Today we're talking about me. I'm introducing myself to you because I did introduce myself on Aaron's Opinions podcast. I did introduce myself on the LVB podcast show podcast, but today I kind of want to introduce you to me through myself. My friend Donovic interviewed me. So everything that ever the blind vision impaired community knows about me online has been through their filter. Well, today I want to introduce you through my filter because every podcast you go on to, every show you go on to, every media site you go on to, they have their own bias and they have their own political agenda. And when you go on their shows, they push that. They take your interview, they edit it, they clip it, and they make it their way for their show. So today I'm introducing you to me my way. And if you guys can't see this through YouTube, if you're blind vision impaired, you don't use YouTube, remember I have a podcast called Dustin the Blind Minnesotan. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube Music. So when you go on YouTube Music, just go to search, type in Dustin the Blind Minnesotan podcast, and then it should pop up right there. So today, the first thing I want to tell you about myself is I grew up in Waite Park, Minnesota. Waite Park is a suburb of a major city called St. Cloud. And St. Cloud and Waite Park are in literally central Minnesota. It's where the highways from North Dakota and South Dakota meet. It's the highway where Duluth meets, and the highways where all the major highways from Minneapolis meet. So St. Cloud is like the if you're in South Minnesota and you want to go to North Minnesota, you drive to St. Cloud and then you can hop on a different freeway to take you to Duluth or Bemidji or Brainerd or Alexandria or North Dakota or South Dakota. So like St. Cloud is it's like a major highway town. And then there's like a mall there called Crossroads. There's Costco there. There's a Walmart there. There's a bunch of gas stations. There's a Red Robin. There's a bunch of hotels. So if you drive from Minneapolis and get up to St. Cloud and need a break, you can stay the night in a hotel. So St. Cloud is kind of like this like giant truck stop. The way to see St. Cloud is a giant truck stop with all the stores you need. And so we tend to figure out from Minneapolis to Fargo, North Dakota, and you need gas, you can stop in St. Cloud. Or your kids need a snack, you can stop in St. Cloud. So St. Cloud's a good like I need you if going from Minneapolis to up north Minnesota or to North Dakota, South Dakota, or um, Duluth, it's a good bathroom break and get a snack and get gas. Um, So I grew up there. I grew up in a trailer park called Bel Clare Acres in Waite Park. It's so if you type in Corey Park, Waite Park, Minnesota, it will take you to the road that Bel Clare Acres is on. So the Corey Park is about a mile and a half away from Bel Clare Acres. Bel Clare Acres is also on Google Maps, but it's sometimes hard to find because the trailer park is so small. But if you type in Corey Park, Waite Park, Minnesota, you're definitely getting close to it. And Corey Park is like it's an old mining area that instead of just wasting the land, they turn it into a park. So when I was a kid, if you want to go swimming or if you wanted to go, anything like that, you would or you want to go for a walk or biking, you would go to Corey Park, and then like you would swim and bike and hike and all that at Corey Park. It's not a big park, but the city and the county are always expanding it. So like I read in the article, like the news the other day, the county's even expanding the park even more. So eventually, it's going to be a big park, but still worth to go see. And I went to an elementary school called Discovery Elementary. It's in Waite Park, Minnesota. And our school symbols was the Dolphins, the Discovery Dolphins. And then I went there until sixth grade because back then Discovery Elementary went to sixth grade. And then I went to North Junior High School, and the school's in St. Cloud. And our symbol was the Bulldogs. And my middle school career was seventh and eighth grade because now North Junior High does sixth grade, but because of overpopulating schools. But when I was there, it was only seventh and eighth grade. And then after that, I did 1 year at Apollo High School, and our symbol was the eagle. And if you go to Apollo High School in St. Cloud, it's right next to the VA clinic. You'll see like a giant like space capsule like in front of the school from the Apollo launch. Um, that's so the Apollo rocket was named after the Greek god Apollo, and then the high school Apollo where he went to school was named after the Apollo launch. So yeah, so eventually my school is named after a Greek god of sunlight, music, and dance because the school's name Apollo. And then I went there for a year, and then my dad moved. I have divorced parents, so my real dad and my stepmom moved us from St. Cloud / Waite Park area to Otsego. Otsego is a small town outside of Elk River. So when like you look at the map, it goes Elk River, the Mississippi River, and then Otsego. So Otsego is a small town outside of Elk River. So when like you live in Otsego, you drive to Elk River for everything. Like, okay, I want to go to Walmart. You drive to Elk River. Um, okay, I want to go to the T-Mobile store. You drive to Elk River. You want to go to Sonic's. You drive to Elk River. If you want, but Otsego is slowly growing because they're building a bunch of homes out there because young people like me don't want to rent forever. So we want to buy homes. So now they're starting to build a bunch of homes out there. So then young people like me don't have to rent forever. So Otsego's slowly growing, but it's even though it's growing, it's still one of those towns. If you want anything, you have to drive to Elk River. Um, but so I went there. I lived there for like 3 years. I um, I went to Rogers High School because that's the school I wanted to go to. And I took the bus from Otsego because Rogers is south of Otsego. So and that was the closest major school that I wanted to go to. So then I took the bus from Otsego to Rogers like every single day. And I really loved Rogers High School because Rogers High School had like they they had this thing called the chicken shack where you could buy cheeseburgers, french fries, shakes, smoothies, and all this stuff. And because if like you didn't want the regular $250 lunch, where it's just here's some corn, here's a slice of pizza, and here's some barely edible chicken nuggets, you could buy higher quality, not higher quality food, but because it's not good for you, but you can buy more expensive food that tastes better in the lunchroom. So the good thing is you could go get your main meal through the lunch line, and then you can go get a dessert at the chicken shack. That's what I did. Like I would go through the main food line for my for my main food, and then I would go to the chicken shack to get dessert. Um, because I'm sorry to say it, I'm having mashed potatoes and ham, and the mashed potatoes tastes like the mashed potatoes you get at the dollar store, and the ham is like the worst ham ever, I want some damn ice cream. At least because I grew up when you eat ham and mashed potatoes, you have ice cream afterwards. Um, so then after that, I'm sorry if I'm eating that. If I don't eat something sweet or drink something sweet like a milk or a shake or a smoothie afterwards, I'm gonna be thinking about ice cream or milk or some kind of dairy product all freaking day. So so then I went to Rogers High School and I really enjoyed it. The hard part was about Rogers High School. I was like, when I first got there, I was like the only visually impaired student there. So up in St. Cloud, at least when I was visually impaired up there, I had like another student. So at least it was two visually impaired students ruling the world. Um, Up in Rogers, it's a smaller community. So most people who have disabilities have autism or ADHD or learning disability. They don't have vision loss. So I was the only was when I first got there, I was the only one there with vision loss. So everyone else, it was hard for me emotionally because Rogers is car country. Everyone was getting their car, everyone was getting their snowmobiles, everyone was getting their tractors. Because yes, at Rogers there's still farms, and there's still farm kids that go to school at Rogers High School. Um, and you know what I mean? And it just feels like, like I was the only one that couldn't get a nice, shiny pickup truck and go to work like everyone else. So I was a little bit so I was a little bit depressed, um, because, I couldn't contribute like a normal person in society. That's what I was thinking at my age. When I was thinking at that age, like I can't contribute. I can't own a truck. I can't like own a home, you mean in the suburbs, and I can't just drive my truck to work, and you mean I, I can't live this lifestyle. And I'm in an area where everyone can drive but me. And I'm one of those disabled people. I want to do things myself. Like when I have other people do things for me, I feel weak, I feel pathetic, I feel like I can't accomplish it. But when I can do it by myself, I'm a disabled person who feels empowered. So, so high school is a little bit rough because I pretty much had to take the bus between Otsego and Rogers High School, and I could only go between those areas, or I had to have my parents drive me. My mom lived in Albertville. My real mom and my stepdad lived in Albertville, so some days she would like, if it worked out with her job, she would pick me up from school, and we would go do something in like Rogers or Elk River or Albertville, and then she'll drop me off. So then I could do my homework and then go to bed and go to school the next day. So and then my dad sometimes I would get home and he was like, "Hey Dustin, let's go to McDonald's," or "Hey, let's go here." And I said, "Yeah, sure," because every day I was just going between because I can't drive was just spending time at home or spending time at school. So I'll be like, "Okay, sure, let's do this." And my favorite store to go to was Walmart because like Target, I don't mind Target, but Target doesn't have everything. Like Target, they only have the main brands of food and it's freaking annoying. Like I want generic versions of cereal Target. I want three versions of generic cereal Target. I want the Chinese version. I want the South American version. I want the Target version. I want the Irish version. I want the German version. I want the Italian version. I want the African version of a brand of cereal. Okay, Target. But when like you don't give me all those versions, I don't want to buy groceries at your store because yes, like if I was starving, I would go to Target. I would buy the overpriced main brand cereal and I would eat it. But um but when I can have option to Walmart and I could have 10 brands, 10 off-brand versions of the main brand, and I can try, oh, these are honey oats from Germany, or these are honey oats from Italia. That's what I call it, Italy, because Italian, Italia. Um, you mean I can go to Walmart, it's a good price, and I can have all these cereal options, all these food options. I love Walmart. Okay, I just love that store. Um, because I have all these food options. So I loved when my parents took me to Walmart because I felt like endless food options. Um, and Cubs too. I don't mind Cubs because Cubs does a very good job trying to compete with Walmart. Cubs is like our version of Kroger or Hy-Vee, or I mean it's um we don't have a Kroger because we have Cubs. And then so then like we would go to Walmart and I would buy my dad would let me pick out a pizza I wanted or a soda I wanted or muffins I wanted. And then the same thing my mom would do. She would take me to Walmart because my mom and dad both like Walmart. Some even my step parents like Walmart. And we would go to Walmart and get basic food. And I get to pick and I get to eat what I wanted and it was no big deal. Um and then um and then when I graduated high school, I moved in. My real mom wanted to downsize her house. And my dad still lived in Otsego at the time with my stepmom. And so they moved into an apartment in Rogers. My my real mom and my stepdad. So then I moved into that apartment because Rogers does not have public transportation. But if you live in the downtown area, you can walk to Target, you can walk to Cubs. Now there's even a clinic, like a small minute clinic that you can walk to if you live in downtown Rogers. You can walk over 94, and there's an older part of downtown Rogers that you can access if you live in the downtown area and willing to walk. So we lived in the newer part of Rogers over by Cub Foods. So I was able to like walk from my apartment, shop at Cubs, shop at the Dollar Tree that was there, walk back to the apartment. I could walk underneath the bridge, the highway bridge, go to Target, shop at Target. I preferred Cubs over Target, but like Target, I get my clothes, my shoes, my and all that. I get all that stuff at Target, but my food I get at Cup Foods. I got at Cup Foods. So then I would walk over there and I would get and then Rogers even has a Kohl's. I prefer Kohl's clothes over Target clothes. So sometimes like I would get my clothes at Kohl's, but get everything else at Target or Cubs. But later in my story, my life, I didn't have access to a Kohl's. So then I would just get access to clothes at Target. Um, and then um, and then I lived there for a good year. And then I realized I wanted to go to school, college. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to. At this point, I was working at McDonald's and Cub Foods in Rogers because I could walk to work. And at that point, I was like, I want to go to school, but I don't want to go to school online. I want to go to school in person. So, and I couldn't afford to live on my own because think about it, I'm 18 years old, I'm disabled, I'm not even on Social Security yet, I have no money. So, my real mom and my stepdad, they moved into a townhouse in Maple Grove. And then what happens is, and I went with them. And in Maple Grove, they have public transportation. They have this taxi service owned by the city called Maple Grove My Ride. And Maple Grove My Ride will pick you up from your house and take you anywhere in Maple Grove. And then they had the Maple Grove city bus called Maple Grove My Ride 2. It's called Maple Grove My Ride 2. And then and it's a city bus that would take you from the Maple Grove Transit Center in downtown Maple Grove to downtown Minneapolis. And um, and we chose Maple Grove because my stepdad worked in Monticello. My real mom worked in Hennepin County, downtown Minneapolis. So we chose Maple Grove because it would be convenient for all of us. So at that time, I chose a school in South Minneapolis called AVO, AVIVO. If you look up AVO on the internet, you'll see here in Minnesota that they do a lot of people with they focus on homeless people because a lot of people who are homeless in Minnesota have some kind of disability. Um, so what they would do is they would like take people that are homeless, educate them, and then get them like their certificates and then help them get jobs. Because I was disabled, I could go to this program. So I would take the Maple Grove bus to downtown and then hop on the 7 bus. And the 7 bus goes from downtown Minneapolis through the Cedarside Riverside neighborhood and into the Longfellow neighborhood. And next to Matthews Park, where the 7 bus, the third to last stop for the 7 bus, there is a park called Matthews Park, and Avvo had a school there. Back then it was called Resource. And Avvo, like, I went to school there. I learned how to do my typing because I used to suck at typing. Really suck at typing. Now I love typing. Thank you, Avvo. I used to hate typing, but because of the way you taught me, I actually like typing over handwriting. Um, I I learned my typing skills. I learned how to use Excel. Um, I took a whole class in Excel. And Excel Microsoft is the worst freaking program in the whole freaking world. I hate freaking Excel. But I started the class. I paid for it out of pocket, so I had to finish it. At this time, I was in Maple Grove working at Toys R Us, and I was using my Toys R Us money to pay for the school education. So I'm like, I'm doing this. I paid for the class already. I'm going to finish. So I finished that class, and I started a 480-hour IT certification program because I didn't know if I liked IT or not because I grew up like always like focusing on my siblings when they're growing up, not really focusing on myself because I'm one of those people where I put all my energy into other people and I forget about myself. So so I just so I had to learn about myself because I'm so used to worrying about Caleb and Kylie, my younger brother and sister, that I never really focused on myself. So what does Dustin Lindberg like? And because I could never drive, I could never really do anything but play video games or do things that my dad likes to do or my mom likes to do because they could drive. So I had to figure myself out. So I went to take an IT 480-hour course and get my certificate. And that program was about 9 to 10 months, almost a year. I made friends with my friend Paul Downs there, Trina Port, um, Debbie. Her name is Deborah. That's her full name, but I call her Debbie. There is Pamela, and I call her Pam. And then I met Janae. Um, and then I met Joe. I never know what Joe's last name was, but Joe and me, um, I don't know what our relationship was. We didn't like each other, but we didn't mind talking to each other at the same time. And he lived out in Brooklyn Park, and he taught me about Brooklyn Park. Um, so he like, so he, we, him, I don't know how our relationship was. Like some days I really hated him and he really hated me. And some days we get along and blah, blah. So then I met Joe and Joe lived out in Brooklyn Park. And then I met Gary. Gary was part of my class and Gary lived in downtown Minneapolis and he told me about how was living in downtown Minneapolis. And then I had Saeed. Saeed was from the Middle East. I think was somewhere around Turkey. And he taught me a lot about his culture in the Middle East because I grew up around Somalians. So when I pictured Muslims, always pictured Somalians. But he showed me that, hey, yeah, the Middle East, we're also Muslim, but we're different than Somalians. They're Muslim from Somalia. So then that you're used to interacting with. So then I got to meet him. He was amazing. And then I had a blonde lady with glasses. And she used to do receptionist work. So I forgot what her name was. And then I met a lady named Mary James, and I call her MJ. And she was going to school there for do you know those people when you go to a clinic and they're at the front desk and they help you like make appointments and stuff? She went to school for that. I call them like clinical, like clinic nurses or clinical like documenters or something like that. I don't know what their real name is, but my mother would know. And then so she went to school for that. So now she works at a clinic doing documentation for people who want appointments and stuff and all that stuff. And then, so I met a lot of good people at that school, and they all taught me something. And then what's funny is now my cousin Katie lives a block away from where I went to school. So, so I know her neighborhood very, very well. I know that South Minneapolis area really, really well. And I like a lot of Somalian food because I went to school down there for 2 years. So as a full-time student, and then on the weekends I would work at Toys R Us in Maple Grove. So because I would, and then because I had friends who lived in Minneapolis who went to the school, they would tell me, "Hey, Dustin, avoid this neighborhood. Go into this neighborhood. This neighborhood's good. Go to this restaurant, in this neighborhood." And you know what I mean? So I did. And you know what I mean? I enjoyed that neighborhood. Um, the only neighborhood that I don't really know that well over in South Minneapolis is the Cedar Side Riverside neighborhood because I only took the bus through it. But based on what I saw, there's a bunch of strip malls, there's a hotel, there's a bridge that will take you to the U of M. So if you drove, you can drive from downtown through the Cedar Side neighborhood into the U of M campus. So I know what kind is there, but I don't really know it detailedly. Like, oh, I can give you directions on GPS. Um, so then I went to school at Avo. After I was done at school at Avo, I mean, this time I was still living in Maple Grove. I went to Anoka Ramsey Community College for 2 years. And I went part-time because with my disability, I couldn't handle full-time school because I would start failing my classes because I couldn't keep up with the work. So I did only like 3 classes per semester, so I went part-time. So I could still have a life outside of school, I could pass my classes and all that stuff. So then I went to Anoka Ramsey for 2 years, and I would take the bus from downtown Maple Grove to downtown Minneapolis, and then take the bus from downtown Minneapolis to downtown Anoka. And then I'll hop on a different bus to go from downtown Anoka to Coon Rapids, where the Anoka Ramsey Community College was. It was such a long bus ride. I would schedule all my classes on one day so then I could bus out there, do all my classes in one day, and then the rest of the week just stay at home and do homework. But eventually, when I got deeper into my schooling career, I end up have to go to bus to school every single day, and it just got exhausting. So then I transferred to Hennepin Tech, and that's a school in Brooklyn Park. And then the good thing is because Maple Grove, my ride has a contract with Hennepin Tech in Brooklyn Park, I can use the Maple Grove My Ride service just to that's like almost like a taxi service just to taxi to school. So then my school was only like a half an hour bus ride instead of 2 hours. So then I went to Hennepin Tech and I spent 2 years there because technically if you go to a technical school, if you go full time and it technically takes you 2 years. But because I went part time, it took me 4. So because I'm not good at learning people, I'm not good at learning. I was able to finish the other half of my education at Hennepin Tech, and then I graduated with an IT support degree. Um, it takes me forever to learn because in college they just give you this massive textbook and they say read it all, study it all, know it for the test. And because of my vision and because of my learning disability, it takes me longer to read. And when I listen, then when I use the book reading apps, the apps that like you scan, you take a picture with the book and the app reads it to you. Because those apps work good with the science textbooks. Those apps work good with the philosophy textbooks and all that, but they don't work good with IT textbooks because they keep on saying the shortcut words wrong. So then when I went to class and said, "Oh, it's the blah 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 blah," the teacher said, "Dustin, you're saying it wrong. It's the A dot T dot F dot A." But the screen reader would not put the dots in. It would just read the letters. So I was saying it the way my screen reader was reading it to me. But the IT class, because they're not using the screen readers, will say it's something different. So like, so that was hard. And then me trying to read everything, remember everything in IT, what chords are what speeds, what chord is faster than another chord, and all that. It was very hard for me to do IT because IT is so complicated. And I have a learning disability. It was so complicated for me to do IT. So complicated. But I did it. I completed it because I said there's not a lot of blind vision impaired people who work and there is now like at Apple, Microsoft, Google, the big companies, but there's hard to find a blind visually impaired person who works for AT&T. It's hard to find a blind and visually impaired person who works for T-Mobile. There's hard to find a blind visually impaired person who works for Verizon. Like because most blind visually impaired people, they go to Apple, Google, or Microsoft or Facebook. But I'm like, no, if I'm blind vision impaired, if I'm going into the IT field, I'm going into the Comcast, the Verizon, the Boost Mobile, that where I can wear the I have low vision badge and walk around with my white stick if I need to and prove to every sighted person, look at visually impaired people and blind people can work in IT. Because those IT industries, the ones I just mentioned, are where people have to physically walk into a building like T-Mobile and say, "Fix my phone," or "I want a phone service," and they're actually staring you right in the eyes, and they can see you have a disability, and then they can see, "Oh, this disabled guy can fix my phone." But the issue, if you're blind vision impaired and you work at Apple and you're over the phone call center, no one knows you're disabled, so no one knows what capabilities that you have. So that's why I want to work in an industry where people physically have to see me, a blind and visually impaired person who's in IT, right to their face. So that's what my whole life and goal is. So so um so then, I got the degree. And when I was going to school at Hennepin Tech, I worked at the CVS by the Wayzata High School. And I worked at Total Wine in downtown Maple Grove. I liked Total Wine, but the only negative is a lot of the customers there expect you to know all the flavors of alcohol and how every alcohol tastes like. But I don't know how over 9,000 kinds of alcohol taste like because Total Wine is a big store. It's about the size of Walmart, full of all different kind of wines and beers and stuff. I don't know how all 9,000 drinks taste. And then I don't drink. I don't like the taste of alcohol. I don't, and I have addiction in my family. I don't drink. So, I'll drink a beer once in a while and stuff, but I'll tell myself you're only allowed to drink one or two, no max than two. So, and I'm really good because of my ADHD, my autism and stuff. I'm very good at laying down the axe when it comes to that stuff myself. So then I worked those two jobs, and then when I was going to school on the weekends and before my shift, after my shift, during summer semester, so I'm not just sitting at home doing nothing. Because I'm from a family where a productive citizen works and they contribute to society. So then, I went to, after I graduated and stuff, I went to Nordstrom Rack in downtown Maple Grove. I Okay. Nordstrom Rack, I had mixed feelings about. I liked some of my coworkers there. Some of my coworkers were like Hannah, Savannah, um, Lane. I had Tasha. I called her La Tasha, but her real name is Tasha. Um, and then all these people from like Nordstrom Rack. Some of my coworkers I really, really liked. And some of my coworkers, you don't really like. But I was some shifts I was the only male working in the store, and sometimes there was maybe two of us. But it's Nordstrom Rack was a very female orientated company because think about who women buy most women buy most clothes. So I knew that when I was working there, that when I applied for that job and they hired me, it's going to be a more female orientated company. But it was a good experience. And Lane and me still talk through Instagram, and you know what I mean it was a good experience. And then they because at this whole time I'm trying to find an IT job. I'm going to PCs for People, they turn me down. I'm going to Free Geek, they turn me down. I went to an interview at a Chromebook fixing place in St. Paul, right behind SSB. They turned me down because they don't think I can do my job with my disability. So I tried all these IT places as I was working at Nordstrom Rack. I interviewed for like a mom and pop internet place down in Eden Prairie, and you know what I mean I'm just trying my best trying to get in my IT field, and I'm still trying my best getting in IT. But because that's my dream, even if it's selling overpriced cell phones at T-Mobile, it's better than nothing. Um, that's I want to be IT, and that's IT. So and then I was transferred to the downtown Minneapolis office. And I was so excited because when I was going to school at Avo, I heard from my friends and all that down there how good and convenient downtown Minneapolis is because all the buses take you to all the first rate suburbs and all that stuff. So I'm like, yes, let's do this. So I chose to live in this building called LaSalle Apartments. It's attached to the LaSalle Plaza. The LaSalle Apartments are the most basic apartments that you could ever live in. It doesn't come with a gym. It doesn't come with a swimming pool. It comes with no parking. Um, it comes with no parking at all. Is just a basic. You just walk up to your apartment, badge in, get your mail, badge in further, and just go up and sleep. And then the apartment's simple. And then it's attached to the LaSalle building that has a shopping center in it, an office tower, Crave, and a theater. And I loved that building. I loved it because I could leave the building, go from LaSalle Apartments into the LaSalle Plaza, and then take the Skyway Monday through Friday because the Skyway only went Monday through Friday. And I could walk between the buildings in the winter. So it's snowing outside, and I'm in the tunnel Skyway system at 40 degrees. I'm like, hee hee hee, no snow in my way, and I'm eating Dairy Queen, and I'm walking around for my exercise as I'm eating Dairy Queen. Because my rules, if I'm gonna eat Dairy Queen, I have to burn off the calories somehow. And then I'm walking around eating Dairy Queen, watching people go into Target's headquarters through the Skyway system and blah, 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 walking through. Because, yes, there's restaurants in the Skyway system, you guys. That's why the Skyway system's an amazing place to go during the winter because you can walk. It's like 9 miles of just walkways going through buildings with restaurants and all that stuff. And and then I would walk through that and blah blah blah. The only negative about living in downtown Minneapolis in a basic building like this LaSalle is there's no place for your guests to park. No place. So what I would do is my mom would come visit me, or my dad would come visit me, or my aunts would come visit me. There's a parking ramp right across the street that it's a private company. I would have them park there, and then they would just walk across the street to meet me at my apartment. It wasn't bad. They charge you like $15 to park there for the whole day. So it's not like oh, we're going to charge you like $50 to park there all day. But I'm still saying, when your family lives out in the suburbs and they're used to free parking, it's hard to motivate them to come visit you when they have to pay for parking. So I lived in LaSalle Apartments for about a year, and then I worked at my 2 weeks, my second week in living in downtown, the Nordstrom Rack store in downtown Minneapolis closed. So then I ended up taking the Blue Line train from downtown Minneapolis to the Mall of America. Loved my coworkers at the Mall of America. That's where I met Jody. That's where I met Cheryl. That's where I met Vicky. That's where I met Erwin. Erwin's a freaking hilarious. He's one of my most funny friends. Um, and then his husband Ryan is like cool. You know, they're one of those cool gay couples that you don't even know that they're gay until they tell you they're gay. Um, and then I met a bunch of like customers that I don't mind talking to. I met Jesse, I met Trent. I met all these amazing people working at the mall. Um, the Mall of America can be a very stressful job because on the weekends, because I worked at the East Desk, so I worked over by the transit hub. So I would get people from the East parking ramp, the people from the transit hub. So I was like the sugar cube being attacked by ant. So the East desk where I worked was always a very high intensity desk. It's always a very stressful desk. The North desk, you get a lot of school kids, like a lot of school bus kids, or a lot of people coming in from the hotels, because that's where the hotel shuttles drop people off, is at the North desk. And a lot of school buses, the school buses have parking up in the north parking lot by the north desk. So a lot of the school buses will park in the back of that parking lot because that's made for them to park. And then the kids will come in through the north desk. So the north desk is like the second busiest, and the west desk is like the most boring, slowest desk ever. And because it's like next to a parking ramp where only like locals park. And a lot of people who are local, they already know things about the mall, so they don't really need you. They know where to buy tickets already. They already know how to do all that stuff. So then you're just sitting there just babysitting, make sure no one's bringing weapons into the mall. So I loved working customer service at the mall. I did because I could sell Nickelodeon tickets. It was something me, low vision, can do. They let me wear the I have a low vision badge so I can show them like, hey, as a vision impaired, I can do regular work and blah blah blah. And I liked doing the customer service at the mall. But what drove me away from the Mall of America was they kept putting me in the theme park. They kept on making me sell food or toys or snacks, and I didn't want to do that stuff. I didn't apply. If I wanted to do that stuff, I would apply to work at Target in downtown or Walgreens or Dollar General. If I wanted to do that stuff, I would apply. I would have applied there. But I officially applied for the Mall of America to do customer service. And if when I keep coming in every day, they keep on saying no customer service for you, you're going to foods and stuff. It kind of ruins your trust with the company. Like, hey, you hired me to do customer service. I'm vision impaired. It's hard for me to make the food. It's hard for me to sell the food. The theme park, I go, me as a visually impaired man, I go off my hearing. And when there's rides up there, there's screaming kids over there, there's screaming kids in front of me, I can't use my hearing to focus, and then my eyes are not good. The theme park was not a good place for me to work. So I was like, hey, can I go back to customer service? Can I go back to customer service? They say, no, we have too many people now in customer service. Customer service goes too slow. We're moving you to the theme park. And that's when I said, okay, I need to kind of get out of here. So then I went to DCM Services, and DCM Services is a call center that collects debt for banks like Chase, American Express, slash credit card companies. And so I'd say, hello, this is DCM Services. Just to let you know, you owe blah, blah, blah to Target. let's come up with a payment plan. And and your job is to help them make a payment plan so then they can slowly pay back their debts. They can say no and hang up on you, but then Target will just have a different agency call them or get a lawyer to contact them so then Target can get their money. Because when like you're using a credit card, you're technically loading money from Target to buy the device or buy whatever you're buying. And Target doesn't want to be negative because you can't pay your bills. So I worked at DCM Services until they laid me off because I was not collecting enough money. So then I was like, well, I'm in downtown. I only have 2 months left on my lease. So what I did was I used my 2 free months, use them on my last 2 months of my lease. And my mom lives in Fort Myers, Florida now. Because when I moved to downtown Minneapolis by myself, she moved downtown Fort Myers. I flew down to Fort Myers, stayed with her for a month, met John. He leads the blind and vision impaired community in Naples, Florida. Really nice. And he runs the Florida's blind and vision impaired community. He leads the Florida's blind and vision impaired community. Nice man. Um, and then he took me to a unique grocery store that has a restaurant, a bar. It was a beautiful day. Um, and he told me about his nonprofit and passport, and it was a very, very, very good day. Um, and then what else? And then I came back and I stayed with my dad for 2 weeks in Otsego. So I literally slept on his couch for 2 weeks, saw what he did for work, made a podcast episode about it. So then people actually know what my dad does for work and what my parents do for work. Um, and then um, and then at that time, I had to move out of my Minneapolis apartment. So my mom, my aunt Diane, my aunt Susie, and my stepdad Ray, they used their big SUVs and they brought it to downtown. In downtown Minneapolis, because of everything stacked on top of each other, all the apartment buildings in downtown have this thing called a loading dock. So their residents can rent it and their residents can use it to move in and out of the big buildings, and their loading dock is underneath the building because there's no space to put it on the side. In the suburbs, a lot of the apartments, the loading docks are on the side of the building because there's space. And downtown Minneapolis, every foot is worth millions of dollars. They'd rather put a resident in that space and not a loading dock. So then they put the loading dock underneath everyone. So then we went to loading dock, we loaded up on my stuff and moved me to this new apartment in Columbia Heights, next to the Columbia Heights transit station. So when you get off at the Columbia Heights transit station, you look behind the strip mall, you'll see a big white building. I live in that direction. So now I live in Columbia Heights. And now that here I'm living in Columbia Heights, I'm investing more in my podcast, Dustin the Blind Minnesotan. And now I'm becoming before I was a disabled guy in Hennepin County. Now I'm a disabled guy in Anoka County. So so now I'm building my life again, and be lucky this apartment is underneath my social security amount. So then I can find a job out here again and be happy. So, and I love here in Columbia Heights. I love it, you guys. If you guys can live along the 10 bus, because I live on the 10 bus goes between the Northtown Mall in downtown Blaine and downtown Minneapolis. I'm going to tell you guys, if you guys live along the 10 bus, oh my God, it's amazing. The bus comes every 15 minutes. The bus runs from 5:30 a.m. until 11:30 p.m. So you want to be on that last damn bus at 11:30, because if you're not on that last bus at 11:30 p.m., you're stuck. But I'm never out at 11:30 p.m. anyways. So, and if I am, it's because of employment. But so it's now that I'm no longer employed, I'm only out latest at like 10. But I really enjoy the bus. It's a nice bus. I'm in a very Hispanic neighborhood. Like most of like if you go south of me, you hit a Somalian you end up in northeast Minneapolis where you hit Somalian grocery store, different Muslim grocery stores and all that stuff. Because northeast Minneapolis is full of a lot of Somalians and college students. And then when like you go north of me in Columbia Heights, you hit Hilltop, and Hilltop has a huge Latino shopping area. There's a Latino grocery store, there's a Latino nail salon, there's a Latino hardware store called Hardware Freight. There is a Latino Indian restaurant where Latinos can eat at the Indian restaurant. There is a chicken and sandwich place. It's called Hilltop. It's a huge Latino community that's between Columbia Heights and Fridley. And I'm gonna tell you, I went to try some Mexican ice cream yesterday. Delicious, delicious. Um, it was like homemade. It tasted like homemade ice cream, not like cheap stuff that you buy at McDonald's or Dairy Queen or whatever. It was like stone cone, cold stone quality ice cream, or even better because it's homemade. Um, then there's Fridley. Fridley's more of a mixed community. You get like Latinos and whites over there, and then Blaine is also like a Latino and white mixed community. So yeah, so like and there's a lot of jobs right on the 10 bus. And then Monday through Friday, I have the 801 bus that goes from Brooklyn Center through Columbia Heights to the Columbia Heights transit station, and then it goes from Columbia Heights through St. Anthony all the way to the Rosedale Mall. So if I want to go shopping and buy like the Northtown Mall is very small. It's just like three major stores in there, and then like everything else is like strip malls outside the mall. But so Northtown Mall is a little bit more difficult to, as me as a blind vision impaired person, to walk around because it's so car dependent. But if I go Monday through Friday, I can get down to the Rosedale Mall in Rosedale, going through like on the 801 bus, where the bus drops you next to a mega mall. And the Rosedale Mall is so huge. It's like taking the Mall of America and taking out and cutting out the theme park. So Rosedale Mall is about the same size as the Mall. It's like almost the same size as the Mall of America. The only reason why the Mall of America is bigger is because it has a theme park. So like Rosedale has everything you need, everything you need. And there's also strip malls outside of Rosedale Mall with even more stuff and more businesses who can't afford the high rents of Rosedale Mall. So like the cheap stores that can't afford the high end prices of Rosedale Mall are in the strip malls outside Rosedale Mall. And then the high end stores who don't want to be in the strip malls outside Rosedale Mall are in Rosedale Mall. And you can go in there, you can find all the shoes, you can stores, you can find the Apple store. But the only sucky thing about that 801 bus, it only runs Monday through Friday. And the bus only comes to Columbia Heights once every hour. That's not bad because it runs from like 5:30 a.m. until like 11:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. So I could like get a job out of Rosedale Mall. I can still get back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I prefer like that is like my second choice. But I prefer to get a job out of the 10 because the 10 comes more convenient. My job wants me to work on a Saturday, I can get there on a Saturday. Or if the job wants me to work on a Sunday, I can work there on a Sunday. But if I work along the 801 bus, I can only work there Monday through Friday. And if they want me on the weekends, too bad. I can't get there on the weekend, so I'm not working. So yeah. So and then the good thing is I like getting access to Brooklyn Center because if I get a bus to Brooklyn Center Monday through Friday, I can take the Brooklyn Center bus up to Brooklyn Park. And then if I take the 801 bus to the Rosedale Mall, I can then take a bus from Rosedale into downtown St. Paul. And then once I'm in downtown St. Paul, I can access the St. Paul Metro. So, yeah, and then, so it's easier for me to get to downtown Minneapolis than it is to get to downtown St. Paul. So I prefer going to downtown Minneapolis because I can get there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all week between 6:30 a.m. and 11. Well, St. Paul, it's harder for me to get to because where my Columbia Heights is, but I can still get to it. Um, yeah, and that's pretty much my story, and that's where I'm kind of at. And I hope you like this podcast episode. So now you kind of know more about me. Well, I hope you guys have a good day. Bye bye.